There are a lot of people that have talent, but not everybody develops that talent. Talent is what makes a company successful. I mean, but for the people, well, you have nothing to lead. Leaders that aren't accountable to their people will eventually be held accountable by their people.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Myatt today to our interview series. I'm Aishwarya Jain from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest. Myatt is a leadership advisor to Fortune 500 CEOs and boards. He's the author of Hacking Leadership and Leadership Matters. He is the chairman of N2 Growth and a member of the board of directors at the Gordian Institute. He's also recognized by Thinkers 50 as one of the top leadership thinkers. With a great experience since the start of his career, we're extremely happy to have him in our interview series. Welcome, Mike. We're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That's really a pleasure, Mike. Mike, I want to begin by, saying that you have had quite an eventful journey, and it would really be wonderful if you could just tell us about some experiences, some learnings that have shaped you and brought you to this successful place.
Yeah, I think mostly my journey has been maybe eclectic, if anything. I've had the chance to sit around a lot of chairs at the table. So I've been a professional advisor, a sitting CEO, and just have enough of a background that as I got into the leadership and talent areas, it just felt really natural to me. It's something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy helping people. I've got a great team. I've had the pleasure of working with some fantastic clients. And so really what makes, I guess, what I do interesting to me is that every company, every client, every industry has, they're nuanced, right? They have their own particular sets of circumstances. And so everything that I do every day, while there are commonalities and there are points of nexus, there are also a lot of differences. And so over the years, I've had a chance to see a lot of things and do a lot of things. And, it's been a fantastic journey. I've really enjoyed it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and, when you get to be my age, they put you on a lot of lists. And I think they just want to be nice to you before you die. So, I think you have the ability to do a lot of things at this stage of your career. And I'm just, I'm grateful for, the kindness that I've been showed. So thank you.
Well, I'm sure you're a great leader. And, I was just going through one of your blog articles, and you were talking about how a leader has to be an effective communicator and not a talker, but a communicator. So can you elaborate on, that concept, because it is a very important concept, and I think, our viewers will really benefit from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go to conversations with an agenda, right? And I've always believed that conversations aren't competitions to be won. They're dialogues to engage in. And it's not just about the takeaways, it's about the leave behinds. And so I think every interaction, whether it's face-to-face, online, regardless of mediums and modalities, every interaction is not only a chance to learn, but a chance to help and a chance to show empathy and that you actually care about somebody. And there's the old saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So I think, I just look at communication as really just at its base level, just engagement. And if you're human, if you kind of take off the corporate facade and mask and you forget about titles and roles and positions, and you just try and help people, that's how you build relationships. So I guess that's my basic theory on communication.
That is really great, But Mike, there are so many people out there that struggle with communication because they might be an introvert or just like a closed book. So how do you think, they can take some steps or some kind of change? How do you kind of bring about change in them?
It's interesting. I think, most people wouldn't see me like this, but I'm actually quite introverted. I mean, that's my natural tendency. And so I think you have to get out of your own head and you have to focus on what you're doing and who you're engaging with and the desired outcomes, right? And so most conversations that I have with people, I try and help them understand that there's no single answer to any challenge, problem, solution, or opportunity. There are many paths to travel. So just treat conversations as explorations, right? They're pursuits. And so when you get people out of the mode of, I have to look a certain way or I have to use certain language or vernacular, it's not about that. It's just about being human. And I think we all communicate every day, but sometimes there's I don't know, the business person, and then there's who the person is at home. And to the extent that you can merge those two and they're the same, that's when you really feel comfortable in your own skin. So I think most people in a business environment, there's an acclimation period. With my clients, they tend to be deep into their career life cycle, board members, chief executives, C-level officers. So they're all pretty good communicators. I think for the most part, the challenge with those folks is sometimes they just get into a routine. They've developed a communication style or a communication preference, and it's what they're comfortable with, but maybe it's not evolved to the level that it needs to be as effective as it can be. So, that's the journey that we try and take people on.
Right, absolutely. That is quite interesting the way you put that concept there. And you also talk a lot about leadership and talent being the core of any organization, and those
Yeah.
are the two important factors, that need to be focused on. So, how did you come to that conclusion? Can you just, kind of elaborate on your thoughts?
Yeah, I just think back to any organization you've ever been a part of, right? Whether it was in school or, athletic teams or, anything that you've done throughout your life. There are a lot of people that have talent, but not everybody develops that talent to its full potential. And so the way that I look at talent and kind of my role is helping people unlock their potential, and actualize it, kind of operationalize it. And so talent is what makes a company successful. I mean, but for the people, there are no products, there are no platforms, there are no services, there is no technology. I mean, but for the people, you have nothing to lead. And so I think when leaders really take a look at their team and they say, hey, these aren't just people in roles, they're human beings that have huge contribution potential. How do we unlock that? How do we unleash that? And that's what really makes for an interesting culture. I mean, I've often said that leaders that aren't accountable to their people will eventually be held accountable by their people. So, a leader's job isn't to put somebody in a box, it's to free them from the box. It's not to leverage their people, it's to create leverage for their people. So it's a mindset thing, right?
Absolutely, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And you also mention unlocking value at the intersection of talent, leadership, this culture, strategy, innovation. So, what are the considerations and what specific aspects do you focus on during such consulting assignments?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the challenge for any company is to have all of those areas hang together, right? I mean, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you can't operationalize it and execute it, it's worthless. You can have the best talent in the world, but if you can't deploy them properly, if you can't get them operating at highest and best use, if you can't get them working well together as a team, and if talent isn't part of the strategy, right? People talk, they often juxtapose strategy and culture. I don't think it's an either or, it's a both, right? Culture should be part of the strategy, and so I think it's really aligning all those things around corporate values and purpose. So if your talent is aligned to your strategy and it fits within the culture, good things start to happen. But, if you don't have those things woven together properly, you just have disconnects in the business that aren't necessary. You create trouble for yourself.
Right. And when you talk about, having the right values for a company, having core values, now dissemination of this, it can be done by communication. That's obviously the foremost. But do you think that there are other ways how you can disseminate this culture and bring about unity or integrity in the organization?
Well, there are different ways to go about this, right? So a lot of companies will take some time, develop some values, only to kind of print it up, frame it, and put it on the wall. And that's the last anybody ever sees of it, right? And I think the purpose of values is to kind of inculcate it into everything that you do, right? So values need to be part of your decision metrics. I mean, every decision you make needs to be values based. Every hire that you make should be, is it a cultural fit? Is it a value fit? But do they add something? Do they bring something more to the party than just being a fit? But, you can hire for competency all day long, but if there's not value and vision alignment, that competency, you won't be able to unlock it. You won't be able to realize it. You won't be able to maximize it. You can't do much with it. And so the real key on the value is, when you hire somebody, hire them for value and vision alignment first, because a lot of other things can be developed, but you can't develop value alignment. I'll give you an example. Like it is really difficult to get hired at my organization. Not that, we try and put people through mental gymnastics or create barriers or hurdles, but we're looking for people that bring something special to us and align with our values. So, we're one of the most diverse organizations around. I mean, if you go to our talent page and look at our team, I mean, there's everything represented there, right? But the one thing that they all have in common are the values. And what's interesting, if you just looked at our team, if you just went to our team page and looked at them, or you looked at their bios, you'd kind of scratch your head and go, how do these people work together? And it's that diversity, along with the value alignment, that makes this a really interesting place. But, we vet probably harder for values than we do for capabilities and competencies. We assume that people are going to bring those, right? Those are table stakes. They punch your ticket to entry, but it's not what's going to keep you here.
So it's more of attitude than aptitude.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Right. And how do you check for these values while recruiting them? Is there a set pattern of understanding if they fit your culture?
Yeah, I think, number one, nobody gets hired here with a single interview, right? And you have to go through several interviews, and people are looking for different things. And mostly what we're thinking is, do we want to work with this person? Would our clients want to work with this person? Does this person add to our culture? Not just fit, but add. Are they people that we want to be around for a long period of time? Are they people we can trust? That our clients can trust? Are they people that will represent us well? And so when you look at our people, I mean, they've got a lot of great gravitas, a lot of pedigree. They, a lot of people here have really interesting backgrounds, and that's kind of what gets them to the interview. But what gets them through the interview is who they are as a human being, because you don't hire a resume, you hire the entirety of a human being. It's like, when you're considering a significant other or a spouse, I mean, It's the whole person, it's the whole family that you end up having to live with. It's not just maybe what you see on the outside. So, kind of similar thoughts in that regard. We've got a gentleman that works for us. His name's Brian Kibbe. He's the CEO of our ventures unit. And, Brian has a statement. He goes, talent is the only strategy. I mean, he so wholeheartedly believes in that, almost to the extent that other things don't even hardly matter. Now that's an exaggeration, but that's how much stock that we put in talent. So as an example, we've got a very large executive search practice here. And the people that sit in our talent acquisition chairs, they're not talent acquisition people, they're ex-operators. They've built and led teams in the real world. They've recruited, they've been recruited, they've hired agency recruiters. But the background that they bring when they're talking to candidates and clients, they're very, very intelligent people with a great track record as an operator, and they've walked in the shoes of our clients. I mean, we have people sitting in recruiting chairs for us that been chief executives several times over. And that is, it's a whole different conversation with our clients and with our candidates, because we understand what they're going through. We know what they're thinking, right? And so everything we do here, we kind of put through that lens of leadership, through that lens of talent. It just makes a big difference.
Wow, that's really impressive. And in this process, how important of a role is technology, digital, AI, automation going to play in, what is being called as the digital workspace hub and its relevance in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think my answer to that may surprise you a little bit, but we'll see. I think, everybody's on that digital transformation continuum, right? Technology is important. Emerging technology is important. It's a real thing. It's not going to go away. A lot of people say that if you're not a technology business, you won't be in business. All of that said, consultants like to dangle, shiny new objects, and clients like silver bullet solutions. And that's a very dangerous type of a thing. And so I think what most people have learned about technology, they tried digital transformation, then they re-engineered their failure at digital transformation. Now they're re-engineering the re-engineering of digital transformation, because they over-rotated to technology and they forgot about the people and the culture and the talent. And what they don't understand is that it's the people that unlock the value of the technology. It's not the other way around. And so I think now people are starting to figure that out. And if you drop technology in to a well-aligned culture and a really talented team and a crisp, clear strategy, that's where you leverage technology. And if you look at the companies that are really leveraging their strategic portfolio of technology, they're really embracing emerging technology and they're kind of leading in that regard. It's not because of the technology, it's because of the people. Technology is like data. Data these days, it's ubiquitous. Everybody has access to the same data, assuming that they have the resources to pay for it. But data is ubiquitous. Technology is getting to be ubiquitous. So it's all about the people's capability to operationalize that and unlock value with it and lead with that. But it all ties back to the people, the culture, the talent, the strategy.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. As you said, it's the people that unlock the potential of technology. And that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And what is your opinion on what is being termed as the future of work? And tell us something about the future of recruitment. What do you think it would look like?
Yeah, that's a great conversation to have. I think, I guess first of all, I would say that most people's perception of the future needs to be reframed. So most people think of the future as this far off, distant, ethereal event, right? It's 3 years out, it's 5 years out. The future happens like that. I mean, and it refreshes itself every nanosecond. So the future is right here. It's not way out there. It's right here. So, the goal of whether it's Industry 4.0 or the future of work or whatever label you want to put on it is to have clear line of sight to the future, but accelerate it, pull it closer to you, right? Actualize the future earlier on in the life cycle. So I think with regard to search, we built our practice to be different by design. So we looked at the industry, the legacy-based competitors, in our competitor set, and what we saw is virtually everybody in the executive search business has the same pricing, the same process, the same teaming structure, the same delivery and execution model. I mean, minus some modest advances in technology, everybody's doing it the same way they did it 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And so when we built our practice, we changed our pricing model, our procurement model, our teaming model, our delivery and execution model. I mean, we built it to be antithetical to how the industry actually works. I mean, we look at best practices as last practices. We're kind of next practices focused. And so, when you look at technology now as it applies to search, it's not about the data. It's not about slinging resumes. It's about providing insights and guidance and counsel, okay? And so if you can use technology to unlock better insights so that you can have some fact-based decisioning that's dependable, that's where those points of nexus have to come together, right?
Absolutely, you're right. It's really how you kind of strategize and not follow the norm, but be different and challenge what is status quo to be better than others.
Yeah, we were having a conversation the other day, and I think, so many companies, when it comes to executive search, they have a planned or an unplanned departure. And what do? They look at the job description that they had when they hired the last person, and they make a couple of minor edits, and then they go to market and they try and replace the person they lost. That's what I call backfilling, when what they should be doing is future filling, right? When that departure happens, they should reimagine that position, right? They should reinvent that position and figure out, is there a better way for it to plug into the ecosystem? Can we unlock value in new and interesting ways? Should we look at a different type of person to put in that chair, or maybe split the position up into 2 or 3 things, or, but just literally tear it apart, reinvent it, put it together, and then go to market, right? So it's a mindset thing.
Absolutely, it is a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Do you also think that, the future of work and lives, is it going to change once we come out of this pandemic, or would you see?
Yeah, we're seeing it. So I think this too shall pass, right? We're in the middle of a storm, and I think, it shouldn't be abandoned ship. It should be batten down the hatches. You just need to get through to the other side. I don't think we're going to find that we come to a certain date on the calendar, turn the page, and everything goes back to the way it was. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this pandemic will end, but it will have lasting and lingering impact. And so I think a lot of us are focused on present, right? Because we're at home, we're sequestered, we're sheltering in place, we're doing the safe distancing. Some of those things will continue, but I think because most of us are so focused, and rightly so, right, on our families and our loved ones and our friends and our coworkers, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with this. But what you need to be doing is thinking past this, right? Because there will be the other side, and that other side will be different. I think, this is just accelerated remote working. Our organization, I mean, we've been largely decentralized and distributed for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years. So this wasn't a real big shock to us. I mean, the only time we go into, our office is kind of if people are coming into town or, there's a project or something like that. But, we're probably, I don't know, 90% distributed and have been for a long time. And so it hasn't really changed how we work here. But the benefits of this are huge. And see, clients are starting to realize that. I think when we first started doing it, people thought that's really weird. But the advantage of this, so we're headquartered in Philadelphia. So, we've got 2 physical offices in Philadelphia. There's, depending on which day you go there might be 5 people, there might be 50 people. It just kind of depends on what's going on. But if we were to have just said, we're in Philadelphia, okay, that kind of limits our ability to attract talent, within an hour radius of that office. It excludes 90% of the market. And so what we've done is we've grown we don't care where the talent is. We want the best talent. We don't care if they're in Mumbai. We don't care if they're in Tokyo. We don't care if they're in South Africa. We want the best talent. And we're not going to tie them to a cube. We're not going to force them to, go into back-to-back mind-numbing meetings. We want to, again, free them from that box, right? And so I think the model that we've been using for a long time will kind of become the new norm. And people that haven't, had remote workers are going to be forced to go into that, because there are a lot of people right now that are sitting at home going, you know what? I'm not going back.
Yes.
And some really talented people that said, you know what, I'm not going to fly 1,000,000 miles next year. I'm not going to spend all my time, in a commute. And I kind of like being with my family, and I'm going to figure this out. So the employers are going to be forced to deal with this, right? And I think it's going to evolve technology, just like the Zoom meeting we're in now. There's a company out there called Spatial. I mean, it's all augmented reality and virtual reality. And, this whole platform that we're on right now, it's just going to get really, really interesting. Yeah, but it's going to change. It's going to change a lot.
Well, it's amazing the foresight you have, and the mindset that you've operated on. It's been quite advantageous to yourself and beneficial. So that's really amazing, Mike. And I've had a very interesting conversation with you. And to wrap this up, I'm going to ask you the last one, which is if you have any advice or any other important sound bites that you'd like to leave our viewers with.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me the other day, they said, what should I be doing right now? This was a CEO of a fairly large company that, was a lot of change was thrust upon him very, very quickly. And I said, step back, take a deep breath, focus on your people. We've talked this whole conversation about the importance of people and talent. And as hard as it is for somebody running a multinational publicly traded company, they're focused on quarter over quarter earnings, and they're focused on so many things. But it's just like, look, put all of that on pause, focus on your people. If you take care of your people, guess what? They're going to take care of you. They're going to take care of your business. They're going to take care of your customers. But, right now people have very real problems, and we need to deal with those. I mean, the business things, that'll come back. It'll take care of itself. We still have to do what we have to do, but that needs to be second to the people. So my advice to anybody that's listening, just focus on your people, focus on your family, focus on your team. Business will get back to normal, whatever normal looks like. Maybe we don't know, but we'll find our way there.
Absolutely. So people first, that's the strategy.
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. That is so wonderful, Mike. It was a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate your time and sharing your views with us. It's
Yeah, likewise.
an experience.
Likewise, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a safe and healthy time ahead of you.
Okay, you as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.